Welcome back to Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. Now, in the last episode there was lots of things going on, and we have a lot of leveling up to do. However, in regards to that leveling up, I have been doing some research, and I will have to respec a couple of the characters. Now, those of you who are familiar with the Pathfinder system in Wrath of the Righteous might argue that having Camellia and Ember, or at least one of them, in your party is a very, very beneficial thing to do, but I'm not going to use either of those companions at all. The reason why these companions are so powerful, just for those who are not familiar with it, it's the hexes. Let me, well, I can't demonstrate it here, but you have the hex ability here. Let's just go on and give her some skill points. Now, these are what makes these two classes so incredibly powerful. You have the protective luck here. Now, as you can see, it only lasts for one round. However, you get cackle. And as you can see by that, a witch can cackle madly as a move action. Any creature that is within 30 feet that is under the effects of an evil eye hex, fortune hex, protective luck, is a protective luck, or a misfortune hex caused by the witch has the duration of that hex extended by 1 round. Now, Camellia, well, just to see what this does. So, whenever a creature is targeted by an effect that requires an attack roll, including weapon attacks, the attacker must roll twice and take the worst result, which basically means that you are much less prone to having critical attacks against you. This is almost a requirement at unfair difficulty. You really need to have the protective luck, but I find it rather micromanagey to use it, and I don't think it would be good in this, because I would either be spending a couple of minutes before each battle pausing, cackling to increase the duration of the protective luck and the equivalent buff that Camellia has, which is called a hex. And in that specific case, the hex in question is fortune? No, it is protective luck. Now, fortune is another one of those really good lucks, because you can also re-roll any ability check, attack roll, saving throw, or skill check, and you will be taking the better result. But it's the same thing with that. You'll have to use the chant ability, which is the shaman equivalent of the cackle ability of the witch, to increase these. So it's a lot of time spent before each encounter that is difficult to do this, and I happen to know that on the difficulty I'm playing at, this is strictly not necessary. So I'm not going to be doing that. What I will do, though, is what I mentioned very early on in this series that I wanted to do. I want to recruit a couple of mercenaries. Now, these cost more because I have leveled up, so now they're 8,000. And as I said that I was going to do, I've increased the build points from 20 to 25. Yes, I know I'm cheating, but I'm having fun with this, and I hope you guys don't mind that much. The other thing that I want to do is to give myself enough gold to get 2 mercenaries, because that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have 2 mercenaries. I need to have a paladin companion, because the fact that I am going to become a lich. Sela, probably not too surprisingly, is going to leave the party at some point later on in the game. I don't expect to be using these two mercenaries right now, but I want to recruit them now because at level 20 they cost 200,000 each. I'll just take 16,000 gold like that, close this, go to healer, and we will set up those characters right away. Now, I need brave and experienced fighters, give 8,000 gold, and then you basically go here. Let me just find a character portrait. Here we are. This looks paladin-y enough, while mildly evil at the same time, but yeah, kind of fits into a party of soon-to-be, or 50 episodes, 100 episodes down the road to be Lich. Now this is going to be a paladin, and she's going to be a pure paladin, which means 20 levels of paladin. No multiclassing on this one. The race we're going with is human. We are going to go with the background pickpocket, probably not a huge surprise to anyone. The stats we are going for is, we need charisma to be our primary stat, so we need 14 strength, 12 dexterity, 14 constitution, and 19 charisma. The abilities that we are going to, or skill points that we are going to have on this character will be Knowledge World, Perception, and I think Use Magic Device. I don't think there is any other skills we really need on this character. Would it be nice to have Perception as an actual skill that we have, but we get that from Lan, who I intend to keep in the party. For our first feat, we are going to take Power Attack. Mostly because we want to have Cleave as our second feat. Cleave, as a standard action, you can make a single attack at your full base attack bonus against a foe within reach. If you hit, you deal damage normally and can make an additional attack using your full base attack bonus against a foe that is adjacent to the first and also within reach. You can only make one additional attack per round with this feat, but when you use it, you take a -2 penalty to your armor class until your next turn. Then you get these other things here. But that's for later. Our deity in this specific case, we are going to go with Iomedae. We are going to use a longsword. And obviously we have to be lawful good. Let me just quickly customize the appearance as well. There we go. I mean, it's not perfect, but you don't have that much choices, so... As for the voice, we'll go with Brave. And for the name, give me a second. We'll go with Nilana, as that is a good Patreon name.
We won't falter.
Indeed. Now, I probably won't. I'll probably use Sela until she leaves the party, but just to continue on leveling up here. That's basically level 2, and level 3 is very quick as well, because we're going to have the feat Shake It Off, which is a rather good one. You get +1 bonus on saving throw per ally who also share this feat, up to a maximum of +4. As for our first mercy, we will take Fatigued, and that's about it. Now for level 4, that's basically just going through the motions here. So we'll be putting all our 5 points into Charisma, leaving us at 24. So that's the first new team member. The second one is going to be a very strange one in this regards, but it is a very, very powerful build. And again, let me just find an appropriate portrait. This one seems quite appropriate. And we are going to go with Arcanist and a brown fur transmuter. Frequently called brown furs, these transmutation-focused Arcanists are now known for transforming themselves into animals. What few realize is that these specialized Arcanists excel at turning themselves and others into all kinds of creatures. But not only that, they're also master buffers. So we're going to go with that. And again, we are going to go with a human. And the background here... Oh, I have to look that up. I completely forgotten. It was not... I don't think it was the regular one. Indeed, we are going to go with Oblate. And we are going to go with Healer to get Lore Nature and Lore Religion added to our list of class skills. And we are also allowed to use the Intelligence stat instead of Wisdom when we do these ability checks. So, the stats for this handsome fellow will be, this might come as a surprise to some, 14 Strength, 14 Dexterity, 8 Wisdom, 14 Constitution, 18 Intelligence, and 12 Charisma. As for the skills in question, we are going to have Arcana, World, Nature, Religion, and use Magic Device. So this is going to be our fountain of knowledge. As you can see, Nenio has higher skills. But then again, Nenio is higher level, because this is at level 1. But Nenio doesn't have that high skills there. Nenio was my to-go-to character when it came to these 4 skills in the other playthrough that I have to complete it at some point, but God knows when. Sorry, the Tentacles knows when. The first thing we want to do here is take Spell Focus and Conjuration. Then we want Greater Spell Focus, Conjuration. As for our Arcanist exploit, we are going to want to take Potent Magic. Whenever the Arcanist expends 1 point from her Arcane Reservoir to increase the caster level of a spell, the caster level increases by 2 instead of 1. And that also applies to increasing the spell's difficulty class. So that's a rather good exploit there. I have no experience with playing an Arcanist, so this is going to be my very first attempt at that, but it doesn't seem that hard. So I'm looking forward to that. We will be taking Grease, Mage Armor, we will be taking Shield, and Enlarge Person, Reduce Person, and finally True Strike. Oh, I can apparently take one more. I should probably then consider taking Hurricane Bow. As for our deity, I think the most useful one here would be Nethys, who is the goddess of magic, or god of magic. Our alignment, we are going to be lawful neutral. And then again, we're back at the customizing the character. I also need to change the gender there. I think this is a best approximation that I could get of the portrait. So we'll go with that. As for our voice, we will go with the reserved voice. And as for our name, again, I will be disappearing briefly. Here we go. I came up with the name Bunfix after my patron Tunefix. For Norwegians that might be slightly amusing because it sounds like Tunfisk, but yeah. I had to make it a little bit fantasy-ish.
Everyone counts on me.
Let's level up Bunfix. So we want to have just continue in the brown fur here with the same skills that we have already selected. On level 2 we are going to want to take these spells. I suppose Magic Missile, it isn't really that important, and also Protection from Alignment. Level 3. Defeat, and that feat is going to be actually martial weapons proficiency. Yes, I know that might sound weird for a caster, but trust me, it is not. As for our next spells here, we want to have magic weapon. And for the final one, I'm not really sure. It's kind of like a little bit irrelevant. Let's just take Burning Hands. And for the 4th level, we are going to increase our intelligence. Continue to increase the skills. And for the spells, we want to take full strength and the glitter dust. And that should be it. So now we have our 2 helpful companions that really are just here because they are needed. Well, I might start using him now instead of Nenio, but because Nenio is... let's just say that she is completely and utterly insane. But you'll see, because I will do her companion story. Level 4 on Caledon himself. Going to take a point into Charisma, Trickery, Arcana, and Persuasion, I think. As for our level 2 spells, this is a hard one, actually. We don't have any level 2 spells yet. We only get 1, so this is kind of important. I'm thinking Mirror Image might actually be a good one to take here. Another option might be... what is it called? Blur. 20% mischance, 1 minute per level. No, I think we'll take Mirror Image. That's him done. And for our companion pet, I might have to respec the pet. Not sure what I took on level 1. Let me just check that really quick. This is going to be a in-between episode. What feat did I pick on this guy? Yeah, I did pick the correct one, Furious 4. Let's level him up as well. We want to take 1 point into intelligence, so we get access to certain feats that we want. And now for the other characters that has to be leveled up. We have to level up Sela. And we need to respec her because I do not want her to be a Sohai monk at all. I want her to be a pure paladin. So I need brave and experienced fighters. No, my companions and I need good training. Sela, respec you. So for your first level, which is level 2, we're going to go with Knowledge World, Perception, and I don't know if I want to have Persuasion or if I want to have Use Magic Device. We have Persuasion on Caledon. And there's no way she's going to catch up to him. So level 2 done. So we are at level 3. Knowledge World, Perception, and use Magic Device again. As for our feat here, we are going to take Shake It Off for that juicy saving throw feat. And Mercy, we are going to go with Fatigued, just as with the other Paladin. The only difference here is that Sela has some not too optimal traits and a little bit low charisma. But the companions that you get in the game does have more ability points than 25. So they are actually quite good in that regards. That's Sela done. Now the next one that we need to respec is Lan. And with Lan, we are going to make him a hunter. A Divine Hound Hunter. So for his skills, we're going to go with the ones that he has. Athletics, Mobility, Lore Nature, and Perception. The animal companion we're going to go with is a dog. And as for the spells, we are going to take Hurricane, Bow, and Cure Light Wounds. Let's continue on the Divine Hound. For level 3 feat, we are going to want to take Boon Companion, which is maybe a little bit weird, but otherwise the pet is going to be a little bit behind in levels due to our 1 level in Monk. We will take Precise Shot here, and for our spell we will take Aspect of the Falcon. And for our 4th level, also Divine Hound. The stat we're going to take here is Dexterity. And here we get these feats as teamwork feats. These teamwork feats are quite nifty in the fact that our animal companion also gets these feats automatically as long as you have it on the main character as a teamwork feat. So, as the first teamwork feat, we are going to take, surprise surprise, Shake It Off. Which means that both the dog and Lan has Shake It Off together with all of the other party members who also have Shake It Off. And we're going to take the Acid Maw spell. And that's Lan done. Our other characters, well, we have to level his little doggo. Just to be a bully, athletics and perception. Fury's Fall. And I've no idea what to call this dog. Well, I actually do know. We can call him Better Bite, which is kind of non-fantasy. So Beta works. I'm not... Or Betab. That works. Not too worried about the birth month of an animal companion. We want to have Lan in parentheses though. And we also have to level him up. As for our first feat here, we're going to take Die Hard. Which means that if you go below 0 hit points but you're not killed, you can fight on for 1 more round as if disabled, but then you fall immediately unconscious after the next turn. It's a nifty little feat. +1 in intelligence, that is important, otherwise you don't get access to those team feats and stuff like that. Or you can't scribe scrolls if you want your dogs and wolves and horses to do that. There we go. Woljif. I originally intended... Do we get Woljif as a level 4 character? Doesn't make entirely sense for me. No, because he's going to become level 4. Right. Woljif is going to be one of our multi-class characters. He's going to be a vivisectionist. Which means we are going to transform Woljif from being a ranged character into being a melee character. Now for our first stat here, we are going to go with dexterity. And we're going to go with exactly the skills he does have. And we get a lot of spells here. We are going to take Cure Light, Enlarge Person. We are going to take Expeditious Retreat. We are going to take Reduce Person, Shield, and Stone Fist and True Strike. Wow. It's because he's level 4 though. That's Woljif done. Next up we have Camellia, Ember, and Nenio. Of which I am going to just use the other guides for, so be right back. First of all, Nenio, we are just going to continue on the wizard here. The point is going to go into intelligence, not wisdom, intelligence. Skills, we want to take these 4 skills here, maintain them high. As for her spells, we are going to want to take Glitter Dust and Web. That's Nenio out of the way. Next up is Ember. The music will disappear briefly while I switch windows. She's just going to continue as a witch. Her stat is going to be Charisma. Skills. We are going to take Arcana, Religion, and Persuasion. As for her Hex, we want to take... We're at a very low level here, so let's just take Evil Eye first. Her spells, we probably want to take Cure Moderate Wounds, because it's nice to be able to have healing whenever she is in the party. And then finally, Camellia. She's going to also continue being a shaman. There is no reason for me to change her to anything else. We are going to increase her dexterity, not her wisdom. As for her skills, that is trickery and perception as done. And her hex at level 4 will be chant, so that she can increase the duration. With that, we are done with the various leveling up options, and since we have a couple of new companions, we might as well squeeze that into this episode. There is one thing that I want to do though, but I'll do that in the next episode, which is one of the primary episodes, in case someone is not interested in this. But let's have a... Let's not use the door. Let's have a chat with Nenio and see just how insane she actually is. Boy, I am pleased with you. I asked you to bring me to safety, and that's exactly what you did. Indeed, having a follower to aid me is most efficient and frankly pleasing. With you on hand, I shall conquer new horizons, plumb the depths of knowledge hitherto unknown, and scale the dizzying heights of future discoveries. Nenio stops to catch her breath. What I mean is, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude. I foresee immense potential in our future cooperation. Do you always express your delight so effusively? What? Who are you? Nenio stares at you for a while, bewilderment in her eyes, but then it is replaced by recognition. Oh, yes, my new follower. So, what am I supposed to do? Oh yes, I must provide some verbal encouragement for your as yet modest achievements and try to induce you to strive for more of such encouragement. That is the principle that underpins any training. He frowns, but only for an instant. Ah, I see. Your modest nature was unsettled by the overabundance of my gratitude. I do apologize for putting you in such an awkward position. I will never praise you again, unless I forget. But let's get back to the business at hand. Your new assignment will be to take me to the inconspicuous... ruins that are located in an even more inconspicuous valley lying between Kenabres and Dresden, as soon as is reasonably practicable. I'll mark the place on your map with a large red cross so you won't forget it. What's so special about these ruins near Kenabres? I'm glad you asked. This is my greatest hypothesis, my secret project, and I won't pass up the opportunity to share it with you, because you are my most loyal follower and you are worthy of possessing such knowledge. Nenio rubs her nose. And also you are, because you are the first person to ever ask me about it. Some time ago I was walking around the border of the Worldwound and I met a strange person. He was wearing a frayed grey robe and his face was hidden behind an odd white mask. Of course, I didn't miss the opportunity to ask him about the reasons for his absurd appearance, and do you know what he said to me? Yes, I do, because we've met 2 of them already. He said, "I am the answer, but what is the question?" Then he walked off in the direction of the Worldwound. The next day, after I had already forgotten about the first encounter, I had a similar encounter. This time I met an elven woman, judging by the pointy ears sticking out from behind the mask. "I am the answer, but what is the question?" she said before taking off toward the Worldwound. And then I realized everything became clear to me. I'll know a mystery when I see one. Consider this one of my myriad talents. Nenio rubs the tip of her nose. After all, these geysers weren't simply on their way to a costume party. Party, were they? After examining several maps, I determined that they were all heading in one direction. To a place not far from Kenabres, a place which is marked as Nameless Ruins even on ancient Sarkorian maps. That's where I need to go. Unraveling the secret of that place will be my greatest discovery. It will secure my place in history, or perhaps even in legend. How do you know where we have to go? Do you know how to find a beehive in a forest? You need to catch 2 bees, set them free in 2 different locations of the forest, and remember the directions they fly in. Then you take a map and draw lines showing the bees' routes. The place where the lines intersect will mark the location of the beehive. Fascinating, yes? By the way, forest bees do not make any honey. Nenio sighs. I used the beehive principle here too. For a couple of months I tracked the strange people in the masks and observed the direction in which they were travelling. I collected the coordinates, mapped their estimated routes and made a discovery. All the routes intersected at the Nameless Ruins not far from Kenabres. And what do you expect to find there? I haven't the slightest idea. If I knew what was hidden there, I wouldn't be so eager to go. These ruins aren't very far from Kenabres. You could easily get there all by yourself. Why do you need me? Nenio's eyes seem ready to pop out of their sockets in surprise. Don't you see? This is a legendary secret place. Who knows what may happen to be... Who knows what may happen to me after I lift the veil and uncover the workings of the universe? My mortal body may be unable to contain all that knowledge, or perhaps I will ascend and become equal to the gods themselves. I need you to write down everything that happens and report my fate to the interested parties in Absalom. And don't forget to praise me as I deserve while you're there. You know, these ruins of yours may turn out to be just that. Ruins. Nenio shrugs. In that case, we'll write this experiment off as a failure and start another one. I don't know which experiment I'll try next. And that's all I wanted to know about your task. Well, now you know, so off we go. Nenio frowns. Did I just make a rhyme? Perhaps I've discovered a poetic talent in myself. Let's conduct an experiment. Quickly, say any word and I'll try to find a rhyme for it right away. Whatever. Not too clever, now or never. Not the best rhymes, don't you think? Well, this experiment was unsuccessful. We learned that I have no poetic talent after all. Nenio sighs. But it is no reason to despair. Having a gift of poetry in addition to my inexhaustible intelligence would have been a little too much. Besides, I am catastrophically busy and have no time to spend on writing poetry. She has a very modest opinion of herself. I don't like it when you call me boy. My name is Caledon. On the grand scale of world history, your name is irrelevant. I have no reason to remember it. You see, the brain of any given individual can contain only a limited amount of facts. I only extend my memory expend my memory on things that are truly important. The laws of thermodynamics, divine esoterica, planar geography, things that will lead Golarion to a brighter future. Nenio rubs her nose. Besides, what if I make a great discovery, but I won't be able to remember it because my memory is full of outdated or useless information? What a nightmare that would be. What a loss for the whole of Golarion. But you do remember your own name, right? Only so I know what to put for the author's name in my encyclopedia. Are there any names worth remembering? There are, and to my deepest regret there are too many of them. Nenio heaves a sigh that would befit a grief-stricken old man. The names of gods and demigods, the names of rulers, conquerors, and other persons by some reason deemed great by the people of Golarion. They etched their names into history, and, alas, every self-respecting, educated person must know them. But there are some names I am happy to remember. Great scientists, some of them divine, others mortal, true keepers of knowledge and great experimentalists, the pioneers of knowledge. Irori, Nethys, Arilu Vorlesh. Arilu Vorlesh opened the Worldwound. She's the betrayer of humanity. It's her fault the demons invaded Golarion. Oh yes, she is the greatest of the greatest. But just imagine, she managed to open a rift from Golarion to the Abyss. No one knew how, no one believed it possible, no one even dreamed of such a thing, and she just did it. It was the experiment of the century. Nenio wipes a tear from her eye. I would have been so happy if I could have been in her place. Of course, some part of Golarion's population died as a result of her experiment, and the Crusaders are still wrestling with its consequences to this day, but the very essence of what Arilu managed to do was a breakthrough of cosmic significance, both figuratively and literally. Sooner or later, the Worldwound will be closed. Peace will return to Golarion. As for the victims of the ongoing war, they will be remembered as unfortunate but unavoidable sacrifices made at the altar of science. You're crazy. Nenio blinks at you, perplexed. Were we talking about something? Tell me about yourself. I am an explorer, a pilgrim, a yet-to-be-recognized scientific luminary, future author of the Encyclopedia Golaronica, and rector of all of Absalom's universities at once. Future rector, I should say. Nenio speaks in one breath as if reeling off a practiced monologue. That information should be enough to satisfy your curiosity, because I doubt I will be able to tell you more than that. Where are you from? That information is irrelevant. I've decided to forget it. How did you become a scientist? That information is irrelevant. I've decided to forget it. The circle on your shoulder, what does it mean? Nenio casts a sidelong glance at her shoulder. Oh, that. I do not remember the circumstances of its creation, but I like it. I prefer to think of it as a zero, null, nothing, a center point, an origin of coordinates. It reminds me of how much of the unknown world there is to explore. Don't you remember how you got this tattoo? That information is irrelevant. I've decided to forget it. How can you just decide to forget important pieces of information? This is just one of my many talents. The secret is to stop thinking about the thing you want to forget, and the main thing is to not remember anything you don't need, to filter it, to get right to the essence. I'll teach you someday, unless I forget. What is this encyclopedia you're working on? The Encyclopedia Golaronica will be published in 100 volumes, 1,000 pages each, plus the author's addenda appendices added by future co-authors and critical commentaries. Addenda indexation is still in question. Nenio looks slightly embarrassed. I just like the number 100, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to keep within the established word limit. It will be a magisterial piece of scholarship that will become a part of the mandatory curriculum of every educational institution worth mentioning. In it, I intend to describe every object, item, event, fact, and personality that is present on or at least somehow related to Golarion. My calculations show that I have completed no more than 1% of this monumental book. Do you remember your parents, your past, or is that all irrelevant too? All of it is irrelevant on the grand scale of world history. I have no reason to remember such things. Forgive me for saying this, but you are out of your mind. Nenio stays silent and gives you a puzzled look. What? What were we talking about? I'll stop torturing you with questions for now. Eh? What were we talking about? I think this clarify a few things about the task is, yeah, basically just a graying out thing. Nenio produces a crumpled piece of paper from her sleeve and takes some notes on it. This conversation lasted approximately 5 minutes. She lifts her chin. By the way, did you know that this is the exact same amount of time Did you know that this is the exact same amount of time the Inquisitors of Kenabres need to find a defendant guilty? But to shake off Inquisitors chasing you takes 5 times as long. That experiment proved that running while clad in heavy armor is not burdensome for them at all. She's something. But I will have to admit that she is very, very well written. And then there's Ember. The elf in front of you is young, still an adolescent by the standards of their long-lived folk. Childish, carefree smile plays on her face, and her wandering eyes linger on you for just a moment before darting off again into the distance. Terrible scars cover her body, and a few of her fingers are missing. A crow sits on her shoulder, observing you with its clever black eyes. You are always so cheerful. How do you manage to remain so hopeful when we are surrounded by such horror? Hope? She tilts her head and continues with a smile. No. Hope is a lie. What we should hope for? What should we hope for? This world is in the hands of demons, and the gods can't help, or they don't want to, or they forgot about us altogether. The people know they're about to be eaten by demons, but still they quarrel with each other and fight and steal. There is no hope, only us. We'll have to win without hope. It will be hard. The entire abyss is against us, and we can only win by some miracle. Which means we'll have to make one happen. What other choice do we have? We'll work a miracle and win, because we have to. The elf smiles broadly and nods to herself. Tell me about yourself. Well, they called me Ember. I used to live in the River City, and now I walk with you. That's my story. Why do they call you Ember? I've had many names. When I was little, Mum and Dad called me Dove or Cricket or Kitten. Dad called me his ray of sunshine, and when my mom was cross, she called me by a long name, a grown-up one. I can't remember it, no matter how hard I try. Then, when I came to live in the River City, the good people called me different funny names like Ember or Torch or Smoky. I don't know why. They called me Bird Brain because I have a crow. They called me Lucky 7 because of my fingers. Raises her hands. The middle finger on her right hand and the 2 smaller fingers on her left are missing. They sometimes called me Grilled Meat and said I was stupid. But I didn't feel it hurt. I mean, they're right. I really am silly, and they didn't mean to hurt me. I like Ember. It's a good word. Embers are like people. On the outside they are grey and cold like stones, but they are warm inside. You can blow on them and they'll start a fire to help you survive a cold night. And that's wonderful, isn't it? For it is. Where are you from? Far away. From the flower country. The girl gestures vaguely off into the distance. It's so beautiful there. Everywhere there's flowers blooming, golden towers, and waterfalls. And everyone is like me with pointy ears. There's no round-eared people, no short ones, no horned heads. We lived there together, me and Mum and Dad. Mum and Dad argued a lot. Dad used to say that all the good people should go on the crusade and fight the demons. And Mum said he was silly because it was so far away and none of our business, and that he shouldn't abandon his child. She meant me. But he didn't abandon me. He took me along. He said I was born the same year that the hole to the demon world opened. He said it was a sign that I would be one of the heroes who close it. Of course, I'm not a hero, but I'm here anyway, helping as much as I can. Where did you get your scars? It happened by accident. my dad and I came sailing down the river to join the crusade. Dad said that all the good people were going to the Worldwound to heal it. He said that the crusaders were the best people in the world and together we were going to win. But when we arrived at the river city, the crusaders got everything mixed up. They thought my dad and I were bad and decided to burn us at the stake. Dad died and I cried so loudly that one good knight realized it was all a big mistake. He started yelling at the other crusaders, even the one in charge, and then walked right into the fire and got me out. The others wanted to stop him, but he took out his sword and scared them away. The knight took me to a healer. I later learned that while the knight was pulling me from the flames, he himself was burned so badly that he died not long after. But I'm still alive. A few fingers missing and my skin is funny, but I've lived in the river city ever since. I've never had my own house, but I have had many friends. And then the demons came, and I met you, and you know what happened after that. And that lynch mob called themselves crusaders? For shame. People always call themselves pretty words, as if calling oneself a paladin or a commander is enough to stop you from being a poor frightened sinner. She shrugs and smiles. But there was one true knight there, and the others came to their senses at last. Do you worship any deity? The girl shakes her head with an unwavering smile. Dad taught me to pray to Iomade. He said she was a kind goddess and she called people to crusade against evil. The knights who burned my dad and me worshipped her too. Lit the fire with a prayer to her. And she did nothing to help us, but then one kind knight alone, without any gods, changed his mind and saved me. I think the gods are the same as us. They don't understand anything and they're scared of everything, so they hurt themselves and the rest of us. People worship the gods only because they are afraid of being responsible for themselves, and the gods listen to their praise and they become smug and arrogant and begin to believe that they're better than us. But they're no better. They're silly sinners just like the rest of us. Sometimes I pray to the gods. Different ones, the good ones, the bad ones. I ask them to stop fighting and hurting each other. I don't know if they ever hear me, but if they do, I mean, the knight who wanted to burn me, he was able to change his mind and do a good deed. If he can change, maybe Baphomet can too. How did you survive on the streets? The elf shrugs. There are many good people in the river city. When I sang for them in the street, they'd often give me coins or bread, or sometimes even clothes. I shared everything with the other homeless, and they showed me where it's safe to sleep, where I could get out of the rain and cold, where I could find discarded things. When the demons destroyed the river city, I looked for my friends, but I found no one. They probably all died. The homeless have no supplies or weapons or basements to hide in, and the knights won't protect them either. Knights are like gods, so self-important. They are saving the world after all. What do they care about the homeless? Still smiling, the girl shrugs. Where do your magical powers come from? These tricks? I have them from my grandma. She used to be my father's grandma, and before that, his father's. I've never seen her myself, but she's very clever and kind. When I lived on the street, sometimes she left food for me or a blanket in the winter. Sometimes I feel her stroking my hair as I fall asleep. But if I open my eyes, there's no one near. She also sent me soot. She scratches the crow's beak and the bird grumbles happily in response. She tells Soot how to do different tricks, and Soot teaches me. It appears that Ember doesn't know who exactly gives her these powers, but you can guess from her words that her patron is Andoletta, a powerful Archon, one of the Imperial Lords, also known as Grandmother Crow. Thank you for your answers. No, not at all. I didn't really tell you anything. Well, I have to go, so go! The elf watches you with a radiant smile as you leave. We are at 49 minutes, but we still have Woljif. And since this is an in-between episode, I don't think it really matters if it is a little bit longer, because it is optional for people to watch. Just a sip of water there. Woljif gives you a friendly wave. Hey Chief, want to talk? I want to know more about you. How much is more? Are your family tieflings too? My family? It's an interesting story actually, but I don't tell it to just anyone. My father and mother had a bakery. Their life was great, but the gods never blessed them with any children. One day my mother went to the river to wash some clothes and saw a basket floating downstream. Inside the basket was a baby, adorable and chubby and fast asleep. It was yours truly. In my hand was a note spritzed with expensive perfume that said, "Take care of my little angel." My mother brought me home, and she and my father realized right away that I was heaven sent. They raised me as their own. When I turned 15, my mother showed me my baby blanket. It was embroidered with a coat of arms of an unknown kingdom, all in gold thread. Ever since then, I have been looking for my real parents. But it's not easy. Traveling takes money, so if you have a few gold coins, I'll pay you back as soon as I find my real family. I give you my word. You know, that doesn't sound very believable, Woljif. Seriously? Usually everyone just believes everything I say. People love stories like that, you know, a cute baby, basket, blanket. What's not to love? They look at me differently, as if I'm worth more just because the sheets I spit up on might have had a fancy coat of arms on them. Woljif laughs bitterly. If I was really a prince, I wouldn't be sitting around here, I can tell you that much. I'd have already gone to take what was rightfully mine, and then I'd come back with an army so I could watch the guards and merchants who pushed me all around all my life bow and scrape before me. That's not gonna happen. Wanna hear the real story? The true story is boring. My family is human, both my father and my mother. They used to live in a village nearby, I forget the name. When my ma had me, my old man got so mad he almost killed her, pinned her to the wall, and started asking questions like why his son had horns and a tail. Well, my ma told him that her mother, my grandma, used to fool around with a demon. When he heard this, Daddy Dearest got drunk, trashed the house, and then took off. I don't remember any of this, of course, my grandma told me. I was about 3 years old when my mother brought me to Canabras and left me with my grandma. She said to her, "You and your demon have ruined my life, now you handle him." Then she left. I haven't seen her or my dad since. She did leave a blanket, though that part was true, but my grandma burned it because it was infested with lice. It wasn't even good enough to use as a rag. You think after all that my grandmother saw the light, felt rightly ashamed and kissed my horns? I wish. Woljif grins nastily, his yellow eyes flashing. People used to give her trouble for fooling around with a demon. She wasn't welcome anywhere, so she got angry. Normal kids get bedtime stories, see? But the only tales I got told were how my dad was worthless, my ma was a slut, and I was a demon spawn that no one cared about. Only kept me so I could help around the house and steal things she needed. So, that's the truth. I'd pick number 1 here, she'll probably... he's just repeating. How did you become a tiefling? Woljif grins happily. I already was a tiefling, and life made me a thief. I've been in this business since I was a kid. My grandma used to say, "If you don't work, you don't eat," and she gave me as an apprentice to Eager, a tiefling neighbor of ours. He was a cunning old geezer. He knew how to take a purse off somebody's belt, how to cut open bags undetected, even do some magic. I used to climb through basement windows and open doors from the inside while I was still small enough. And when I grew and I stopped fitting through the windows, I decided I was done with my education. I repaid my grandma for everything she'd done for me, which was absolutely nothing. Why would I feed her if she wasn't bringing me any money? If you don't work, you don't eat. So I took off. I got bored of my teacher too, but when I as much as hinted at leaving, he said I owed him for my education. So I just nodded, and then I joined the Owlbears, the gang that ran our district, and told them that Eager was working their territory. I don't know what happened to him, but I stayed with the Owlbears. Then their leader started giving me the cold shoulder. I did steal from him, but never that much, so I had to rat them out to the guards. Then I joined the Golden Hands. That was a good time. Rich pickings. I would have stayed with the Golden Hands, but the Northmen promised me a bigger cut if I told them where the Golden Hands kept their loot. I'm no fool, of course, so I told them. After that, I had only one option, to join the Northmen. And then the family came. At first, no one took them seriously, calling them thieflings and all that, but I felt it right away. They had power behind them, and they had more money. I'm always on the winning sides. Always on the winner's side, Chief. That's why I joined the Thieflings, and right on time. Some thugs came from the capital and made the Northmen leave. The ones who survived are in the family now too. Tell me about the Thieflings. Alright, I won't tell you everything, mind, but I can tell you a little. The Thieflings are Mendevian thieves. The gang was started in Mendev's capital by someone or other, and soon after they had spread all over Golarion. They were also called the Family. You know why? Because us Tieflings are easy to spot. Wherever we go, guards always hassle us asking, "Are you lost or some at Hornhead?" We usually say we're visiting family. And if they say, "Oh yeah? Who?" we give them the name of a local Thiefling who confirms everything, even if he's never seen you before in his life. That's why we're all brothers and sisters. There are rules. Who does what, who gets what cut. I won't say it's a lot, but they make it worth your while. They'll even heal you if you take an arrow. But the biggest no-no is this. You don't steal from the family. If you don't contribute to the shared pot, you'll get the cold shoulder. You won't be treated like family no more. And then everyone will hear that you went to visit some relatives who have a farm someplace. My best guess? The farm is in some underground well beneath Canabris where they breed grave worms. Heh, if Sister Charisme, our boss, looked the other way more often, I'd really be able to spread my wings. I don't really feel like answering either of these. I want to ask about something else. Go ahead, Chief. What do you think of Canabris? It used to be such a hole. Then the crusaders and refugees came here and things started looking up. Although, it depends who you ask, I suppose. Witches better steer clear of here because Iomede's followers are ferocious. Especially Halrun Shapok, the local inquisitor. He's a tough old goat. I didn't see it myself, but a serving girl at the tavern told me that her second cousin's son from his third wife is a paladin, and he said that Halrun takes an unsheathed sword with him even to the privy, and when he sleeps, he puts it on the pillow next to him, and when he's in his cups, he strokes the blade and whispers sweetly to it, "You are my one true friend. You are the only one I can rely on." Irabeth's given us a hard time too. As much as look at some nice little bauble, and before you can think of taking it, or your fingers even twitch, she's coming for you, with her nostrils flaring and her fangs glinting. Scary woman. But even she's better than Sister Charisme, our boss here in Ganabras. By our, I mean the Thiefling's boss. If you get caught by Irabeth, it's all out in the open. You go to prison, or you end up as worm food. But if you step on Charisme's toes, poof, you're gone. Just like that. No one ever sees you again. All you'll hear is, he went to the family farm, even though he's never had a family or a farm. You have demon blood in you. Do you feel drawn to the abyss? Woljif's tail whips back and forth nervously, raising clouds of dust. Why, are you an inquisitor or something? What's it to you? If I've wronged you somehow, just come out and say it. Don't ask me trick questions. I know how it happens. I used to know a fella. He was married to the sister of a guard. Some shady types got him drunk one night and started asking him suspicious questions about the gods, about the queen. He wakes up hungover with a headache. Someone's mumbling something. It smells like smoke and his feet are kinda hot. He looks down and there's a fire under him, and the prelate is reading out his sentence. Your shadow looks strange. What kind of magic is that? Ladies and gentlemen, roll up, roll up. No dark magic, no fraud. A trick without any deception. Woljif snaps his fingers and blue flame engulfs him. The shadow that was previously lying calmly at his feet grows, floating in the air behind him. It is the shadow of a huge horned winged demon with claws. Ta-da! It doesn't do anything, it just looks scary. I remember when I was little, an old beggar showed me and my friends how to make shadow puppets. You put your fingers together in front of a light and it makes the shadow of a deer or a dog or a dove on the wall. I tried so hard, I wanted to make the best shadow. And I did! Just happened. Woljif chuckles sadly. Funnily enough, that's the last time I had any real friends. They tried to stone me later, screaming at me, calling me a demon. A tiefling is always a demon to these wimps. Even the lowest ranking drunken gnome thinks he's better than me, just because he hasn't got horns or a tail. The poorest beggar in the filthiest gutter thinks he's better than me. Most people would never show their shadow again after that first time, but I don't care. If stones start flying again, I'll just run. I'm used to it by now. Not the strangest thing I've ever seen. Oh well, and there I was thinking I'd impress you. Woljif sighs, his tail drops, and the shadow and blue fire disappear. Thanks for not dragging me in front of the paladins, at least. They already know me. I've been brought to them before. I remember the paladins all standing around and looking inside me for traces of evil. They couldn't find any, so they let me go. Let's probably just do that one more time. Enough. I want to ask about something else. Go ahead, Chief. Well, I have to go. Let's talk later. Woljif shrugs. Whatever. You're free to do as you please.
I know the way.
And with that, I think that we are basically done. Yeah, we are. So, with that, we can round up this episode. Now, in the next episode, we are going to actually go out into the city, but this is why this episode is point 1, because of my research and respecking and stuff like that. And then, as so happened, that was a very good opportunity to talk to Nenio, Ember, and Woljif as well. So if you have any questions and or comments, particularly in regards to the respecking and the builds, then please do feel free to leave those in the comment section. And I hope to see you all in the next episode.